Chapter 41, Prepared to Fail. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 41. Prepared to Fail, Magic Bullet. Theo launched his magic and shot another leaf rabbit. They had been hunting the rabbits for half an hour already and ended up killing more than 10. If he hunted alone, he wouldn't be able to get this much kill, let alone leveling up 3 times. His master was the one locating all these rabbits with her awareness, showing how everything could be easily done with the things that she taught. Pant. Theo was short of breath as his complexion was bad, his eyelids were heavy, and his action became dull. His master, who had been watching his progress from the side, came up to him and asked. In your state, I think only 1 or 2 more magic bullets and you are out. Alright, how about we search for the last one? I understand. Theo accepted it even if his brain felt hot as if he was inside the oven. Normally, he would have stopped here and recovered his magic, but for the sake of training his mental endurance, he needed to fight against the enemy in this state. That's right. Can you cook? She asked. I've been living alone, so I cook for myself from time to time to lower my food cost every month. Theo nodded. But it's not that good. In that case, I will cook for you. She smiled. Cooking is essential, you know. Why so? In an expedition, you will be staying in this place for a long time. Instead of eating from the food cans, it's better to bring spices and cook them yourself with the ingredients you can find around the area. Besides, do you know that as long as you don't touch the dead monster, we can extract everything from it? She smiled. Theo widened his eyes. That's right. This is the biggest advantage of a party. She smiled. For example, if you touch the dead rabbit, it will disappear and drop a card, right? Yes. But if I am the one touching it, it won't disappear, right? Yes. Then, I can dismantle everything and get their fur, meat and blood. Did the school not teach you? Or maybe you will receive this lesson in your 2nd year since the 1st year is not required to go to this world yet. I think it's the latter. Anyway, that's how it is. You can get meat and more materials from every single monster. Hence, this is the reason why people often come out with carts or trucks. They need something to transport those materials. I see. I have never thought of it. Theo narrowed his eyes and looked down, thinking, I wonder if my clone does it, will it be the same? I need to check it after this. Well, there are many rare monsters out there, you know. Instead of making them disappear and getting the card, it's better to dissect it, no. This way, we will get more materials in an auction. Of course, this is the case if you don't care about the potential of a skill drop from the monster. But that's only possible for a limited number of monsters, right? Yes. In an expedition, you will need to kill thousands of monsters before getting what you want. And there is no way to transport all of them, so you turn most of them to cards. She then turned around and pointed forward. Go there, boy. There is a rabbit. We can talk more later. Understood. Theo nodded and leaped to the front. I want to give you a challenge for this one. Before using your magic bullet, you need to split it into 2, okay? Although he didn't understand her reasoning, he still acknowledged her order and ran forward while scanning the area to find the exact location of the rabbit. He summoned his clone and handed the spear to him while pulling his sword. With this, he only had 1 magic bullet's worth of magic power left, and there was that challenge. Suddenly, a rabbit leaped toward his clone from behind the bush. Thrusting his spear, clone Theo intended to bait it again for another jump to the air. Theo, on the other hand, summoned his magic bullet and tried to separate it into 2. It was at this time he suddenly realized. He looked at his magic bullet that somehow became 2 in an instant. Although it was unstable, he indeed had succeeded in splitting the magic bullet into 2. But still. Ugh. It will explode in my hand before the rabbit enters my field of vision. Shoot it. That's not a question. The shock from the exploding magic bullet was a bit too much to handle in his current state, so he decided to release it. The magic bullet pierced the clone's body and shoulder but ended up missing the rabbit. On the side, his master clicked her tongue. Ugh. He should spread it more, but I guess this is what the kid can do right now, much less in his exhausted state. She shook her head helplessly before smiling. He has shown me something good anyway, so I will show my cooking skill this. Before she finished, she stopped and realized why Theo used a sword instead of a spear. He is expecting him to fail. No, he is prepared to fail this whole time, so even if he fails, he can still kill the rabbit. Because of the hole in the clone's stomach, Theo could see the rabbit and swung his sword, slashing the clone's head along with the rabbit, but... Kh. Theo clenched his teeth as his feet trembled because his magic power was empty, and he ended up missing the rabbit. But it didn't end there. Theo himself knew what kind of drawback he would experience as soon as he used up all his magic power, so he grabbed that spear that the clone dropped after disappearing. That kid. The old lady's lips curved as her heart was filled with excitement. She muttered, he knew he couldn't hit the rabbit and used that swing to throw the rabbit's balance off. Everything was just for the last hit with the spear. I was trying to push him to the limit and helped him, but this far surpassed my expectation. Just like what she said, the rabbit couldn't even move its body properly because Theo forced it to move its body to avoid his slash. And with the longer reach from the spear, he could reach the rabbit even if he didn't stand up. Chio. The rabbit wailed as its blood flowed on the spear, dying. Theo, on the other hand, dropped to the ground while panting. He stared back at his master. Huffed, huffed. I've done it, master. She grabbed Theo with one hand and the rabbit with the other hand and laughed. Huh, you did great, boy. I will give you something delicious as your reward. Chapter 42, Return. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 42. Return. Ton. 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 Hum. Hum. Chopping sounds and humming voices kept echoing in Theo's ears as he looked at his master, who was preparing the meal. Everything was prepared at a speed he had never seen before, and unknowingly, there was already a plate made of leaf in front of him. The rabbit meat was chopped into the single bite size and cooked together with vegetables they found in this area. His stomach was rumbling with the smell alone and his mouth was watering because of its appearance. I couldn't prepare more since I didn't plan for it earlier. Wipe your hand first and eat. She made a gentle smile like a grandmother. Theo nodded and took out a sanitary kit before washing his hand with sanitizer. His master used his as well, but compared to the food in front of her, it was something trivial. Theo couldn't contain himself anymore and ate the food like a child that didn't know table manners. He ended up eating all his food in less than a minute. His master only smiled at him the whole time and offered him her own portion but rejected. Surprisingly, there was another effect that good food brought to him. The earlier fatigue somehow got reduced as he realized. This. So, that's how it is. Do you understand something? She asked with a smile. A good meal can lessen one's mental fatigue. Just like rest and other forms of entertainment. That's right. Mental fatigue is unbearable, especially in a perilous situation. There was once a man and a woman stuck inside a cave, but because of the situation, the man ended up ping the woman and ate her flesh to survive. I want you to remember this one thing. Humans can become evil, but by no means should they act like a beast. His expression turned serious as if something touched his heart. He clenched his fists and nodded his head. I understand, master. Good. Do you enjoy your food? Yes, very much so. That's the best food I've ever eaten. Is that so? Thanks. She smiled. As long as you work hard, I will reward you with good food. Train and eat. Theo nodded, knowing what this meant. That's right. That's how you create muscle. She nodded. Besides, I believe your training camp purpose is to add additional status points. What do you mean? Have you ever trained yourself to the limit? No. So, you have been relying on your status this whole time. There is a secret which you might have heard from a rumor. Training your body can give you additional strength or any other status. I mean, if there are two people, one has a similar body to yours with 10 strength points while the other one is a huge bodybuilder who also has 10 strength points. Do you think you can accept it if they are both level 1? No, right. They will gain additional points depending on their body condition, so this body training must want to develop your body to its peak condition first, giving you some additional points to your status without leveling up. She explained while chewing the meat. I see. That's indeed something good for a starting point. Theo nodded with a serious expression. I will do my best there without exposing myself. Exposing yourself? Well, whatever. She shrugged before continuing. I want you to learn another thing since you have finished eating. I will explain the basics of awareness with an analogy. Do you know the term aura? Yes. But isn't that a fantasy term like in the game? As I said, this is just an analogy. Imagine yourself being enveloped by this aura and think of this as your awareness. Imagine covering your entire body with a calm aura as if in a thin coat, you will be able to hide your presence. This is what I mean by internal awareness. And if you expand that aura to your surroundings, you will be able to sense or even see your surroundings. This is external awareness. Of course, it's a more complicated thing since awareness isn't something you can touch or see. She sighed. I understand the analogy, but what should I do? Sit in a comfortable position and focus your entire sense on yourself and your surroundings at the same time. Theo nodded and moved toward a tree as he planned to lean on it, albeit he got reprimanded by his master. Don't lean on something. You will be too conscious of it instead of the two. Theo's eyebrows twitched as he took 2 steps forward. Ugh, just sit on the lotus pose. Theo nodded, sat down, and crossed his legs. He placed his hands on his knees before closing his eyes. Now, try to sense the ground you sit on, the breeze that brushes your skin, the chirping sound echoing in the arena, and more importantly, what is your position? Has your body swayed 1 degree to the left? Or have you tilted your back a little bit? You need to feel all these at the same time. Theo followed her instruction but to no avail. It was just a concept that was harder to grasp than the control. Even so, Theo kept trying without saying a single complaint because he wanted to get stronger. Although he didn't succeed after a few hours of training, he felt his mind was refreshed. His master then brought him to another place that had a bigger space, so she could teach him martial art. It was just some basic movements since his master actually wanted him to polish it himself after experiencing many battles. After that, there was breathing as well. The training became more effective because he practiced breathing right after he was exhausted physically. His master turned into a devil and forced him to control his breathing despite him not being able to stop panting. The practices kept repeating over and over again as Theo ended up reaching level 46 since he had been killing monsters while practicing his control without sleep. And finally, his master brought him to the Art Beats castle on Sunday night, where he parted with his master since he needed to go to school for the training tomorrow. Then, Master. I'm thankful for the past 2 days. I never thought I could reach level 46 this soon. Though, you always brought me to dangerous places with high-level monsters. Why did you say it like we're not going to meet anymore? Your hell just begins, you know. Besides, you got stronger this fast because I was ruthless in my training. She shrugged. Ahaha. I will see you again tomorrow. Theo looked away. Yep. Rest your body for today. Theo then turned around and waved his hand to his master while walking away. On the way, he didn't forget to check his status. He was just 4 levels away from becoming an elite rank fighter. Status: Normal level. 46 EXP 287/968 Blessing. God of Mischief skill. Pierce, F, Clone, E, Monkey Fist, F, Magic Bullet, E, 6 slots remaining attributes. Strength 68, Endurance 32, Agility 41, Vitality 32, Magic Power 66 free attribute points. 0. Chapter 43, Military Instructors. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 43. Military Instructors. After returning to his home, Theo took a shower and went straight to bed because the past 2 days had been tiring for him. The next morning, he just completed his daily routine and headed to school. Because this was a special day, everyone was required to bring a weapon to the school since they would only go back after a while. Noel.M. Theo had thought this through and handed both his elite rank spear and sword to his master. After all, Aaliyah already knew about his other identity having that pair of weapons, so the least he could do was tone down his weapon. He decided to pick up normal rank iron spear and somehow searched for a way to acquire another elite rank spear. His only regret was how he didn't think of acquiring another weapon when he was on the other side yesterday. As one would expect, the moment he arrived at the school, the gym was swarmed by people. Theo also quickly made his way toward the gym since the principal was about to give them one last briefing about the training they needed to endure. A few minutes later. All in all, there are 2 things you need to know. First, the area around the training camp is safe, but beyond that, we won't be responsible for your death. Second, if you give up, we will gladly send someone to pick you up. That's all. For now, you should go outside and get into your own aircraft within 15 minutes. They each have a character on it, so you should know where to go. He smiled and walked off the stage. Theo knew that this would be a disaster, so he waited for a few minutes before going to the aircraft. Outside the school, there were 10 white airplanes parked. The plane had 2 wings on the left and right side, but unlike the conventional airplane, each wing had a small turbine that allowed it to maneuver like a helicopter. At the same time, there were 2 engines that could boost their speed at any time. These military planes were usually used to transport something big or carry many people, considering that there were enough spaces to bring 2,000 people in each of them as long as they crammed the people inside. When Theo arrived at his airplane, he saw that the cabin was divided into 2 floors. The second floor was filled with the seniors, so he just sat on an empty seat on the first floor without hesitation before closing his eyes. As long as he didn't talk, no one would bother him anyway. After 15 minutes, the plane finally took off. It rose to the sky vertically before flying toward the teleportation gate. Because the procedure had been met, they were transported to the other side almost immediately and flew straight to their destination. Unfortunately, Theo couldn't see what kind of terrain they would have before landing on the ground. What he did as soon as he got off the plane was to check his surroundings. As obvious as they could get, there were 6 tents capable of housing 200 people at once with bunk beds. Of course, each year got 2 tents to separate males and females. On the north, he could see a dense forest while on the 2 sides were rocky slopes, one was steeper than the other. And last but not least, he found a valley behind him, filled with swamp and grassland with a running river. After getting a clear picture of what he needed to do, Theo found a group of people with a dark blue uniform. Although they chatted like buddies, he knew the military had strict rules, so he only thought about following orders. As he expected, a middle-aged man with a gentle smile stepped forward before his expression turned serious, shouting, "Attention! Stop whatever you are doing and stand in front of me right now." People, who were familiar with the military, quickly ran, stood and straightened their backs. Theo also followed suit as soon as he saw Aaliyah Eilrich was among them. The remaining people were still bewildered as the military instructor once again shouted, "You piece of sh*T who can't even follow an order. What the heck are you doing here? Do you think this is camping? No, this is training. If you can't follow my order once again, no need to say give up. I'm going to expel you right now with my jurisdiction even if you are from a big family. When they heard about it, the rest of the group hurriedly followed what the first 50 people did, sweating. Good. I will introduce myself first. I'm Major Sam and the 9 people behind me are my teammates who will train all of you here. We will help you build your body into something that can handle people from other countries. If you can't even do this kind of drill, just pack up your bag and go home. On the other hand, if you can do this, I will guarantee that you will be stronger even without leveling up. There are 5 basic routines. Run, physical training, lunch, games, and run. Everything in this list is not meant to be a joke, but training. You will understand that later. The schedule will be followed from Monday to Saturday. You can have free time on Sunday. Whether you want to do some personal training or just resting your body, we will allow it. Just make sure not to go back to your home because you will be disqualified. We have people to supervise it as well. Due to the lack of lighting, we will start at 6 a.m. and stop at 5 p.m. Also, we will be supervising you only for 1 month before continuing to your next training session. You have 2 missions during this training camp. Survive and form a pair. You can go to any of us and ask someone to become your group. We will deal with it after that. If you don't have a question, we will start right now. Don't worry about your luggage because you can take it later. Anyway, my friend, First Lieutenant Rick, will show you the course. Follow him and run until you are allowed to retire. We will be running alongside you to make that decision. Chapter 44, Running Course. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 44. Running Course. Lieutenant Rick shouted after hearing the instruction. All right. Follow me. This will be your training routine every single running session, so you need to remember the course even though the training is only about running around the area. Now, let's go. Without waiting for the students to react, Rick already ran toward the dense forest. Aaliyah was the first to react as she ran right behind Rick, trying to follow his pace. Many other students also did the same to make sure they didn't get left out. Meanwhile, a bald soldier narrowed his eyes and sighed, staring at their leader. Major, you are too strict, aren't you? The instruction from above is to allow them to get used to their new environment first, especially for the first year. Not at all. I'm just trying to see their capability first. In other words, this is a test. Well, you have specifically chosen this area to train agility in the dense forest, judgment in the steep slope, adaptability in the swamp, speed in the grassland, and balance in the gentle slope. He scratched the back of his head. Exactly. Even the second or third year students have this problem. They may have muscle from the physical training in school, but this kind of terrain will allow them to gain and use them properly. Besides, we can see the students that are cut above the rest. Well, yes. If they can't even follow Rick to the end instead of someone's back, they are better than most. And there is still stamina and speed to put into consideration. Still, the main problem is whether they will be separated from the group or not. The bald guy nodded in agreement. Exactly. With that many people, it will be hard to follow Eric since they have no visual of Rick. Hence, this is a perfect place to check their talent and advise them from time to time. After all, the boss wants us to teach them without looking at their talent, said Major Sam as he turned around and continued, I hope you all can help me during this 1 month. Yes, sir. Just like what they discussed, Rick entered the dense forest. Theo was a bit behind, but he could still see Rick's figure, so he had no problem keeping up with him. He then started thinking about the reason for this training menu. With my current level, I don't think I have a problem finishing the entire course. From my observation alone, if we are truly going around the area, it will be around 10 miles. It's too much for a normal first-year student, but I think I should remember the course first before putting my plan into action. No. Instead of thinking of this, isn't this a perfect time to practice my breathing? Deciding what he wanted to do, he continued running without talking to whoever next to him. The terrain was well thought. Due to the density of trees, many people were required to take one step to the left or right to avoid them, but at the same time, there were too many students near them, making it hard for them to adjust their course throughout the entire forest. In addition, there were many roots coming out of the ground and fallen branches that could throw their balance off, so they needed to be careful to avoid falling over. Not long after, they arrived at the gentle rocky slope. People began to slow down their pace, resulting in half of the students getting stuck behind just like a traffic jam. Luckily, Theo was part of the advance group, so he didn't get into that trouble. He descended according to the pace Rick set. Everything changed when they entered the next terrain, the grassland. Rick sped up like that of a tiger, throwing them off. This was a challenge for them. Even Theo needed to sprint to catch up with Rick, only to find him slow down again as soon as he entered the swamp. The swamp didn't have anything special other than the fact that it was hard to move since every time they took a step, their feet sank a little bit. Theo had no problem in this terrain since his master training was worse than this. Last but not least, the steep rocky slope. This terrain was the hardest so far. It tested their judgment as to which path they should take. Although Rick showed the best example of how to climb this slope, the students decided to find another path that could be crossed easier since there was no way the path earlier could allow more than 5 students to cross it at once. Suddenly, Theo raised his vision, feeling the stairs from the top of the hill. He furrowed his eyebrows when he found the military instructors to be waiting for them, bringing all his teammates to observe them. After waiting for a while, he saw Aaliyah talking to them and continued running. At the very least, his number one threat had left, so he began to climb the hill. It was quite a steep hill, so he needed to watch his footsteps. It took him a whole 15 minutes just to climb the hill, even though the entire 10 miles run took less than half an hour. And surprisingly, the moment he arrived at the top, Major Sam was the one who stopped him. Congratulations. This is the running course for the whole month. I will also add some twists once in a while, so please keep that in mind. For now, 30% of the group can keep up with Rick, so you can take pride in being able to do it in your first year. Thank you, Major. No need. Anyway, you need to keep repeating this process until you are too exhausted to even move. We have a doctor here, so we will know whether you are faking it or not, and it will affect the overall evaluation. They have a doctor. Doesn't this mean I can't hide my ability? Well, I can control it to prevent me from standing out, so I guess that's fine. Theo was screaming inside when he heard this. However, he couldn't afford to show it to them. Instead, he smiled and nodded. I understand. All right. You should continue. Major Sam released him and waved his hand as if cheering for Theo. Theo nodded and started running again. Major Sam, on the other hand, saw Theo's file after scanning his face to search the database. Theo Griffith. A level 7 can defeat a level 47 fighter, Lost Lang, in a fair duel. There seem to be many interesting students in my camp. Anyway, there are only 2 people in each grade that will pass. I wonder who will get the quota. Chapter 45, A Genius. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 45. A Genius. While Theo was running through the dense forest, he found that Aaliyah seemed to be more relaxed as she began to visit other participants, have a talk with them, and cheer them up. Seeing that she almost reached his position, Theo turned left and distanced himself, going around her position before passing her. Albeit, the next few seconds he did that, Aaliyah appeared next to him with a big smile on her face. Ah, you were the guy who defeated Lost Lang. So, you are still alive. To think we are in the same group. She waved her hand, greeting him. Nice to meet you. How can I help you? Theo asked politely. His heart beat faster because he didn't feel Aaliyah's presence despite seeing her. She must have the control over her awareness. Well, I'm just greeting everyone here since we will be here for a whole month together. And I believe most of the people who manage to follow Instructor Rick are not going to leave just like that. Okay. Theo tilted his head in confusion, trying to stop their conversation using his boring attitude without offending her. However, he underestimated the woman called Aaliyah Ilric. Firstly, he didn't expect that Aaliyah would slow down and talk to them one by one. If he knew something like this would happen, he wouldn't have finished the first lap just to confirm the route. And the second thing was Aaliyah's persistence. She ignored Theo's attitude and asked him. Still, you are here safe and sound. I see. Hey, do you want to form a group with me? That question stunned Theo even though what she aimed at was entirely different. She thought, I already have candidates for the third year, who is my friend, Ellen. As for the second year students, I have settled it with Firil Hilbert and Sihan Raskaka. Due to the rule limitation, I need 2 candidates for the first year. I can choose Lost Lang, but this guy is also interesting. Although the fight wasn't that serious, he truly managed to keep up with Lost Lang. And there are another 10 first-year students who are among the top in this group. If only I could find that joker that seems to be hiding among first or second-year students, I will definitely choose him. Well, I need to come up with a replacement first for this training camp. Thus, I will be choosing one of the first-year students for the first session. I'm afraid that I'm not qualified to be your partner. Theo shook his head. To be honest, he had 2 opinions. Aaliyah would be a great teammate to push him to the top, yet, it came with a huge risk. He didn't know if he had prepared enough to face that risk. You don't need to look so annoyed. She suddenly pouted. Theo was bewildered by her statement since he only replied to her with a poker face. Even his tone was calm and polite. The movement of your eyes, the fact that you are so polite to me, and a few other clues. I know that you are annoyed with my presence here. Aaliyah made a grin before saying, I'm born with a pair of good eyes, you know. Discerning your hidden intention is something that I'm good at. Theo's eyebrows twitched as he recalled how Aaliyah read him openly when he acted as Joker. This was the reason. After a few more steps, he suddenly realized something ridiculous. You are really interesting. Aaliyah didn't miss that as well. What Theo noticed was her movement. It was completely the exact same to him. Every time he avoided a tree, she would take the same step as him while keeping their distance and position the same. In other words, even if he tried to shake her off, she would be able to read him and knew what he was about to do. Master. Is this what you mean by genius? I can become this strong because of Master's help, and if Master trained me from a young age, I would have become like Lost. I see. Lost is not a genius, but someone who has a head start. Compared to the one before me, who can literally do something like this, it's not even worth mentioning. Theo sighed inwardly, realizing why his master said he wouldn't believe what a genius could do. Meanwhile, Aaliyah was scanning him from top to bottom before turning on her Skylink that had the form of a bracelet. It projected a blue screen where she clicked on a note, giving her a blue paper. She started everything she found about Theo while muttering, His abilities are hidden, he is calm and composed as well as has a good observation SK, quack. Before she finished, she hit the tree because she wasn't paying attention to where she was going. Theo, on the other hand, kept moving as he began turning left and right to confuse her and disappear from her sight as if he just escaped from a tiger. Ouch! Aaliyah made a weird smile while stroking her forehead. It hurts. Anyway, I should check the other candidates first, but I think he is the most interesting guy. Though, I wonder if he has realized the true meaning of this training camp. She shook her head and ran to another candidate, doing the same thing to get their reaction. On the contrary, Theo was sweating profusely, muttering. That wasn't good. Everything was backfired. What was the deal with that woman? I couldn't understand her mind. She looked like an open book, telling others her secret, but her actions were so random. Besides, that woman was dangerous. Now I wonder how many geniuses like her are there in school. Theo took a deep breath. It seems I need to discover them one by one and have them in my team. That will allow me to win the spot for Grand Gaia. Knowing what he needed to do, he started creating plans toward it while wondering whether he should accept Aaliyah's invitation or not. Chapter 46, Limit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 46. Limit. 2 hours later, Theo dropped to the ground, panted continuously, and looked at the sky. I'm tired. He had finished 4 laps in this course, so he thought this was enough. Crack. Dried leaves were crushed when Major Sam appeared next to him. How are you feeling? Theo tried to get up since it was rude talking to him like this, but Major Sam patted his shoulder, telling him it was fine. I don't think I can do another lap. Theo shook his head in disappointment. I see. Major Sam smiled and looked at his document before asking. How about one more lap? But. Just one more lap. I will be waiting for you here. Right at this position. In other words, until you finish this lap, I won't move from this place. Can you do one more lap for me? Theo furrowed his eyebrows, not knowing why this Major Sam did something like this for him. He thought for a moment, took a few deep breaths according to the rhythm that his master taught him, and calmed his heart. After that, he rose from the ground with a serious expression. I understand. One more lap. But I feel like this is going to take a while and there is no guarantee that I will reach this place. Major Sam didn't say anything and waved his hand. Theo let out a sigh as he started running again, thinking that he would get into trouble if he disobeyed this command. He knew that almost every single first-year student had given up, while it was only a portion of the second-year that did the same. It just showed their endurance and high level, so Theo thought no more and tried his best to finish the last lap. Although his pace dropped, he should be able to finish one lap within an hour. Unfortunately, it wasn't as good as he imagined. When he descended the gentle slope, it put a huge burden on his knees, making him unable to sprint in the grassland. He was soon forced to walk through the muddy swamp. Still, the worst thing that he needed to face was the steep and dangerous slope, especially in his current condition. In the end, he managed to pass all this, albeit he could barely walk at this point, wondering if the major really waited for him. Surprisingly, he saw his figure right in the dense forest where he stood earlier. He felt relieved, but at the same time, that adrenaline he had earlier disappeared. His feet went limp as he fell on his knees. Theo gritted his teeth and used his hand to grab the tree next to him to help him walk. It might be turtle pace, but the major only smiled at him as if encouraging him to reach his position. It took him 5 minutes just to cover 50 feet. Theo's face was pale, but his eyes were still alive. His back was drenched, but his breathing gradually calmed down. I have finished. Well done. Major Sam smiled. I want to congratulate you for being the top first year in my group and successfully challenge your limit. Limit? Yes. What was your thought earlier? I'm done. Too tired to go another lap. But when I asked you to do another lap, you could complete it. That's why you need to know this. Your brain has set a limit upon yourself and you have never questioned it. However, whether you have reached the limit or not, it's not something that can be answered until you fall unconscious. Besides, I can see that your mental endurance is quite good and your breathing has rhythm. I guess you already have a mentor, so I won't bother you that much. I just want to say this. Keep breaking your limit like this. This is important for you, a first-year student, because you need to compete with second and third-grade students. I see. Theo nodded and asked. Why did you help me like this? As I said, you are the top among your peers. Although you seem to be hiding it, it will be known sooner or later. Since you have worked hard to run for the longest and the farthest than anyone in your generation, I should give you a gift, right? This lecture is my gift. In that case. Is it possible to, don't worry. I won't mention your name during the lessons. Thank you. Theo dropped to the ground as he didn't have any more energy to even stand up. Anyway, you can rest here for the time being before returning to the middle area. You have another 2 hours to spend before the physical training, so you can do whatever you want. He then took out a piece of green paper with 55 on it. Take this with you. This is your identification number as well as the number of your bed. Thank you very much. Theo nodded and received the paper. After that, Major Sam disappeared like his master. However, he knew that Major Sam only moved faster than his eyes could follow, not teleported. Without any other people around him, he leaned on the tree and looked at the blue sky. My limit, huh? Since there was nothing to do other than rest, he closed his eyes and began practicing the breathing rhythm that his master taught him. Luckily, he was in the furthest area, so no one would ever bother him. Even though he needed to run more than the others, the calmness and undisturbed atmosphere were worth it. 1 hour had passed. 80% of the students had dropped out, and the ones who kept going were only third-grade students. Yet, they also soon stopped and got permission to rest. Meanwhile, Theo gradually opened his eyes, finding a piece of paper, folded into 4, in front of him. Theo widened his eyes as he didn't expect to find a note. After all, this meant that someone had stopped by and put down the note before leaving without him realizing her presence. Aaliyah Eilrich. Although he was full of doubt, he reached for the paper, opened it up and read the message. After training, head to the dense forest and keep going straight. Whatever happens to you, you need to keep going until you meet me, your master. Ah, it's master. No wonder someone can put it here. Theo's heart calmed down as he hid the note in his pocket. Anyway, there is only an hour left, so I think I should return to the middle area. If I have more time, I will practice awareness until the next session. Chapter 47, Chase. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 47. Chase. As soon as he reached the middle area, he sat down as if he watched the others who still ran with their lives on the line. No one doubted him, even though the fact was him training his awareness. After the training was over, most people returned and had lunch first before the physical training. The lunch was just a simple military ration. Theo ate his lunch alone as Aaliyah found him again, grabbing his hand before he could escape. Yeah, we meet again. Don't run. I know that I'm annoying, but I will become more annoying the more you push me away. Theo's eyebrows twitched when he heard that as he couldn't help but ask. Are you sure you are a third-year student? I'm. And I don't feel ashamed to admit it if that means I can get you to join my team. She smiled. Please spare me. I'm not somebody. There are more capable seniors there. Theo sighed. What I want is a first-year. Do you swing that way? Going for an underage person. Theo knew that she would read his expression again, so this time he openly showed a disgusted expression. You don't need to show it openly. Aaliyah sighed and explained. I already have a candidate for the other 2 grades. That's why I want you to form a pair with me. I will tell you the reason why after you accept. There are others, as I said, I will tell you the reason why I choose you over them later. Join me, will you? No. Then, I'm going to stick around until you accept. Theo narrowed his eyes and could see trouble was coming, but he snorted and left. Are you trying to play ignorant about what will happen to me when you get close to me? If you think that I'm going to partner up with someone as clueless as you, you're wrong. Aaliyah could only scratch the back of her head, knowing that she had pushed him too hard. Well, I still have 5 more days to do this. It's not like he doesn't give me a chance from his words. Since there is a possibility, I should take it. After all, he is the most interesting first year in this group. Foo-foo. Just like that, Theo escaped from her grasp and ran back toward the group, finding Major Sam preparing for the next training. Everyone, listen to me, shouted Major Sam while looking over the documents. I have grasped your ability a little bit from the earlier training. Hence, I have decided not to do the physical training for today, allowing you to have precious time to get accustomed to living here. The cheers erupted as they could take a break from that harsh training. However, you need to play a game first. That statement bewildered everyone. Although they already knew about the schedule, they still couldn't see what kind of game they would play, considering they came here to train, not play. You will form 2 groups, boys and girls, and play a game of tag in this area for 30 minutes. To have women chasing you. You like it, right, boys? I know you like it because I do too. Anyway, you will play it. Whoever loses will face 2 times of physical training tomorrow. The students shouted, complaining. The training was already harsh, and the major actually wanted to increase the difficulty. It was the same as asking them to die. I don't care. You boys should start running now. 1 minute later, the girls will chase you. Go. Although it was true that flirting with the girls in this game was a dream, they also didn't want to get that amount of training, so the boys spread all around the area. Theo also took this chance to enter the dense forest. No skill is allowed, okay. Major Sam didn't forget to set the limitation for this game. Theo knew that the best place to hide would be the forest. There were many big trees over there and he could even climb them. But he sensed someone staring at him as if he was prey. There wasn't a need to think who that person was. Theo clicked his tongue and entered the forest before going to the very edge. He stood behind a big tree without anyone around him. This place should be able to hide him pretty long. Meanwhile, Aaliyah entered the forest and halted her movement. People wondered what she was doing, but they still didn't stop, not wanting to get the double training. As for Aaliyah, she focused her entire sense to control her awareness, spreading it all over the forest. Obviously, her strength wasn't on par as Theo's master, so she could only cover a small portion of the forest. I couldn't find him at least 100 feet around me. I need to move to another spot. She took a deep breath and went to a deeper area. A few minutes later, there were so many people that had been caught by the girls, while Aaliyah had yet to find Theo until one moment. She picked up someone on her radar. She couldn't contain her excitement and somehow sent that feeling to Theo. Theo, on the contrary, shuddered as if he felt someone just found him. The feeling he sensed earlier was like a hand clutching his heart. Was this how you transmit your killing intent? But what I sensed was that of a wild beast. Theo gulped down as he only had one person in his mind that had the ability to do such a thing. Knowing that he was found out, he leaped to the side to avoid her chase, only to see her not far from him, charging at him at fast speed. You! Theo gritted his teeth. Haha. As I said earlier, I want you to form a pair with me. Theo looked to the front and jumped left and right, trying to shake her off but to no avail. After thinking for a while, I understand why you want to avoid me. That's why I came up with a proposal. You can consider it as me seeing you as my equal. Would you like to hear it first? She suddenly changed her mind and jumped toward Theo, hugging him from behind before pinning him to the ground. No. You are going to hear it. Chapter 48, Getting a Teammate. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 48. Getting a teammate. No, you are going to hear it. She smiled as she managed to tag Theo out, but in a more forceful way. She sat on his back and stopped him from escaping. Anyway, since we have limited time, I will cut to the chase. If you join my group, I will let you set the conditions of our group. You can say that I can't go near you while we are here. I believe this is what you want, right? Theo gritted his teeth and fell silent. This news was like that of a sweet in his mouth. Aaliyah wouldn't bother him again, meaning that his exposure wouldn't increase and he would become a public enemy. At the same time, he would get the most powerful teammate he could hope for. Even Theo, who didn't want trouble, was tempted by this offer. Seeing a bit of hesitation remained in Theo's eyes, she released one more shoot right to his heart. And if you agree, I can understand your power level and give you something like a skill or weapon to train. How about it? Theo thought for a moment and nodded. I understand. But I want to set the condition first before I agree to become your partner. If I see that it's impossible, I won't accept. Fine. She pouted as she released him. You're a hard man to get, aren't you? There are 20 minutes left, so let's make it fast. Theo shrugged and asked. Although the answer is obvious, I really want to confirm it first. Are you sure it's all right with me? Yes. She smiled. Besides, I believe you already know the real meaning behind this training camp, right? I realized it once I heard we have free time on Sunday, Theo admitted and explained. The sooner you form a group, the better. After all, you can bring your partner to hunt some monsters, allowing you to understand each other's fighting style better. In other words, your teamwork will be better than most of the guys out there. Exactly. Unfortunately, I can't train with you because of what you want, but I don't want to push it either. Hence, I will be satisfied with just 4 Sundays. That's the only condition I want to set. I don't mind as long as we can meet up in another place. He might have said that, but inwardly, he asked himself. Will Master be angry if I do this? I will tell her tonight. Sure. As for the condition, I don't want you to get close to me during the training, I understand. I won't bother you anymore as long as you agree to be my partner. All right. That's the only condition I have. Or at least for now. Then, I think I will tell you the reason why I choose you over the others. Actually, I only have one reason. One reason. Theo narrowed his eyes as he was afraid she knew about his other identity. Yes. I may have the ability to read someone, but I don't have the confidence to make a great plan and think about the after effect. From what I can see, you are the calmest guy among the first year. So, you want me to plan everything for you? No. I want you to stop me if I'm too reckless. I'm sure you can do that, considering how you talked to me this whole time. Theo felt like he was trapped the moment he met this woman. Anyway, I will give you some benefit since I personally choose you. However, I need to see your ability first this Sunday to know what to give, alright? I understand. I don't expect much from the gift anyway. Theo shrugged. Fine, fine. Anyway, I will inform Major Sam about this, so he could register our names. Is that fine? Theo nodded and stretched his hand. Aaliyah shook his hand with a big smile. Good. I'm counting on you, partner. Likewise. Theo let out a long sigh, knowing that he was defeated in this battle. That's right. I think I have enough right to ask your status, right? I don't mean about your real status, but the status that the fighter temple issues. Aaliyah then activated her Skylink and showed her status. Name. Aaliyah Ilric level. 148 job. Magic warrior attributes. Strength A, Endurance A, Agility B, Vitality C, Magic Power C. This is my status. I updated it yesterday, so it's accurate. Theo thought for a moment and opened his Skylink to open the ID card, showing it to her. Name. Theodore Griffith level. 24 job. Fighter attributes. Strength B, Endurance D, Agility C, Vitality D, Magic Power C. She narrowed her eyes, feeling that something wasn't right. Your status. Are you sure it's like this? When was the last time you updated your status? I feel like your power is much higher than that of a level 24 fighter. 2 days ago. Seeing that they would form a group, he decided to disclose his level, only his level. I am level 46 right now. Aaliyah dropped her jaw, staring at him with an empty gaze. Now I can see why lost against you. Ahaha, to think everything turns into my favor. What they said again. Aaliyah recalled the thing she read not long ago and smiled. I came looking for copper, but I found gold. That's already so outdated. Theo shook his head helplessly. But isn't that funny? I mean, people are literally laughing at it. They must be your subordinates or someone lower than you. Theo shrugged. That statement literally shut her up as she flinched and looked away before changing the topic. Anyway, I believe that in this training camp, you can raise your strength to A and endurance to C naturally. So, you better not slack, okay? I am going to take one of the spots, so you don't need to worry about it, said Theo with a serious expression. All right then. She nodded as they finally came to an agreement. Theo also felt happy since he managed to acquire the best teammate without exposing himself. Or that was what he thought. 1 hour later, Major Sam wanted to finish their first day of training with running. And surprisingly, Aaliyah came to him again. What are you doing here? Sorry. When I told him about our group, he asked me for your signature so as to show that I have your consent. Don't worry. This will be the last time. I think. Really. I will trust you in this, all right. Theo sighed and signed the document before saying, to be honest, you can just ask me on Sunday since there is no need to rush because of our agreement. Ahaha, I have told you the reason I chose you, right? Bye. Realizing what she had done, she grabbed the document and ran as fast as possible, escaping from him before Theo changed his mind. She realized that she might be able to read him, but she wouldn't win even once in terms of argument. Chapter 49, A Test. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 49. A Test. After that run, they finally finished their first day at 3 p.m., giving them a long free time to adjust to the new environment. However, Theo didn't have the time to waste as he quickly put his luggage above his bed, telling that it was his according to the number Major Sam gave earlier. He then came out of the place with his spear and entered the dense forest. Of course, he made sure that Aaliyah didn't see him or she might suspect him. It turned out that his master was waiting for him in the deeper area of the dense forest. Passing the boundary that had been set by the military, he ran straight according to the instruction. Suddenly, he sensed something from his left, which turned out to be a small log, attached to the tree branch with a rope, swinging toward him. Theo instinctively took 2 small steps to the right since he knew it was enough. And his master told him not to waste any movement, so this was the best option. Master's test. Really? I just got into the training camp today. There wouldn't be any improvement or whatsoever. He shook his head helplessly, remembering how his master behaved. Never mind. She must be liking this, so I should try to dodge everything with minimal movement, believing this is just training. Theo proceeded into the deeper area as more and more logs came to greet him. Unfortunately for him, his master was a sadist. The pace became even faster the deeper he got and those logs kept hitting him on the face and body. It continued for 30 minutes before he arrived in the middle of nowhere, barely having enough space for his training. It was surrounded by giant trees, so it wasn't really that visible even if Theo used his magic bullet. His master stood in the middle of the area with a smile on her face. How is it? Do you like it? I'm not a masochist. Theo let out a long sigh. Oi. Everything I do has a meaning. She shrugged. So, you are saying taking a beating is also training? She made a big smile as if she didn't feel guilty at all. Anyway, I think you have gotten yourself into trouble. Yes. I underestimated Aaliyah Eilrich. To think she would have done something like that. I couldn't escape her radar anymore and ended up becoming her teammate Bedouin. Despite that, I know that you like it. For the benefit, yes. Other than that, she is annoying. Ha 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 ha. His master only laughed and said, anyway, that's your problem, not mine. I understand. That's why I want to ask whether I can stop practicing during Sunday. For a date. For another training. Master, can we get a bit more serious here? I'm always serious. I even put my everything into teasing you. I don't need that kind of seriousness. Theo sighed. Anyway, I have agreed to hunt for monsters with her. No need to get my permission. Since you will be hunting monsters every weekend, I can focus on training you during weekdays. She contemplated for a few seconds before opening her mouth. Though, I do have a condition. What is it? Unless you get into a life and death situation, hide your magic bullet and clone. I know that it will leave you with Pierce and Monkey Fist only, but trust me, it will let you grow faster. Although he didn't understand it, he decided to trust her as he remembered something. That's right. I couldn't understand why Major Sam put a game of tag in our schedule. Although it would give peace of mind, before he finished, his master shook her head with a smile. So, you don't understand? Yes. The reason is simple. He wanted you to use your muscles properly. When running around, you must feel that you need to adapt, right? Indeed. If it were in a normal condition, you would have adjusted according to your pace. To speed up the process, he used that game to force you into a situation where you needed to adapt faster to the point it became an instinct to your body. This will allow you to fight in a different type of situation without the need to adjust it since you have instinctively done it. Ah, I see. Anyway. She waved her hand and pointed her thumb to the back. Look. I have made your practice partner. Theo tilted his head in confusion as he took a peek behind her, finding 10 thick logs planted on the ground. Those will be your training partners. I made them in a way they could endure your magic bullet. Anyway, let's start your training from control to awareness. Understood. Theo nodded as he put down his spear and started practicing. When it was time for dinner, his master cooked another delicious meal as a reward for working hard. Theo savored everything without hesitation and returned to his training right after. Unfortunately, because of the schedule and harsh training he would receive tomorrow, his master reluctantly allowed him to return at 9 p.m. Master, I'm going back now. Yes. And I want you to know that I will be teaching you the basics for only a month. The rest will be your own study. Of course, I will be observing you for 6 months and give you advice from afar. Other than that, I don't think I will make another appearance. Why? Well, I have my reason. Theo looked down, feeling a bit sad. Although their bond was just forged a few days ago, it felt like it had progressed more than a year. Don't be sad. I'm still with you during that time, so don't you dare to procrastinate, all right? Or you will be facing my wrath. Yes. I will keep training according to Master's schedule. Good. She smiled and patted his shoulders. Then, I will see Master tomorrow. Actually, I have something to say about Aaliyah Eilrich. She narrowed her eyes as she was a bit hesitant to tell him. What is it, Master? There is no way for you to keep up with her. Your level and fighting prowess are still too low compared to her. However, I do believe that you have something in you that can allow you to reach her. I have seen it in you and you need to understand that yourself. When you do, put a leash on her. She smirked and grasped his neck, imitating how a leash would feel on his neck. Will you? Chapter 50, Progress. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 50. Progress. I will do my best. Theo made a weird smile as he didn't have the confidence to do something like that without offending her. After saying goodbye, he turned around, returning to his camp. On the way, he recalled what his master said earlier, telling him that everything she did had a purpose. However, that soon turned into confusion again when he sensed something coming from his left that made him take 2 steps to the right. She has restarted the trap. Theo clenched his teeth and knew that it would be another pain in the ass journey. He stepped forward and took 3 steps to the left, 1 diagonal step, and 1 small step back. He suddenly opened his mouth in surprise as he remembered this movement. Isn't this the same pattern like what I have done when coming here? 1 step forward and 1 to the left before taking 3 steps to the right. He surprisingly succeeded in dodging everything without even looking at them. It was at this moment he realized what was going on. This is footwork. She is teaching me footwork but in a practical mode. He couldn't contain his smile when he realized this training, albeit the log finally hit him on the face. Gah! I forgot this one. Ugh, I can't remember the rest too. Maybe my first step should be remembering this one and taking a note to know the pattern. Alright, let's go. Instead of pain, his heart was filled with excitement. Even though his body was beaten black and blue, his concentration didn't decrease. His master, who had been tailing him this whole time, smiled and closed her eyes. That's right. You lack too many things right now, my disciple. Footwork, basic spear techniques, magic control, and so on. You need to catch up with those people if you want to participate in Grand Gaia. After seeing that Theo had returned to the camp, she disappeared. The next day, Theo started practicing like Major Sam intended. Aaliyah, who had become his teammate, began to be more conscious about him, so she noticed the bruises on his body. When she was about to talk to him, she remembered their agreement and decided to give up. Though, she would certainly ask it when Sunday arrived because she was worried about him. At first, she wanted to tail him, but if Theo found her, he would be disappointed. Instead of risking the current partnership, she pushed her curiosity away for the time being. During the day, Theo fulfilled every task successfully. Still, they ended up getting double practices every day because of the woman named Aaliyah. She alone managed to catch 5% of the guys. And there were still other females that participated, making the boys unable to win a single time. When the night came, Theo kept visiting his master. Although his level stagnated, his ability increased by leaps and bounds. Saturday night, Theo finished his training with his master as he once again brought the topic. Master. I can't go back here tomorrow. Maybe I can after the hunt. You don't need to come here tomorrow. Besides, I have disarmed all the traps around here. Just think of it as your master's approval. Rest your body for tonight and hunt those monsters. Theo smiled, thanking for her understanding. That's right. How is your status progress? Theo furrowed his eyebrows and opened his status window. Status. Normal level. 46 EXP 13/332 Blessing. God of Mischief Skill. Pierce, F, Clone, E, Monkey Fist, F, Magic Bullet, E, 6 slots remaining attributes. Strength 70, Endurance 34, Agility 43, Vitality 32, Magic Power 66 free attribute points. 0, I got an additional 2 points for Strength, Endurance, and Agility. I see. That's good enough with the fact that you only do basic training. I think they will step up next week. Step up? Yep. Probably with weight or something to develop your body faster. Now I feel like you are related to the military. He narrowed his eyes. Don't tell me, you actually know about their training schedule. I underwent such a thing back when I was young. She shrugged and looked away. Anyway, you are free to think anything about me. I won't give you answers related to my background again. If you don't like it, how about you outsmart me? Theo shook his head helplessly. Although his master was mysterious, he never tried to get her picture in order to search it on the internet. Besides, he couldn't squander his money for the time being, considering that his master would destroy his Skylink or any other cameras he used if she found out. In addition, her training was very effective for him, so he decided to trust her until enough preparation. When he returned from the forest, he saw a woman figure standing near the exit of the dense forest. The translucent blue light from the moon made it as if there was a fairy standing in this calm night. On the contrary, Theo's heart was far from calm as he looked at that figure. Of course, for a different reason. Did she tail me? I thought I had. Before he even finished his thought, she looked at him and made a gentle smile. You have finished your training. Theo frowned, wondering how much she knew. But his master should know about this and she must have prevented Aaliyah from knowing. He thought for a moment and nodded. Yes. That's good. Anyway, I just wanted to give you the location of where we will meet up tomorrow. Open your map. Theo took his Skylink out and opened the map. Aaliyah gave him the coordinate and inputted it on the map. Fortunately, the people who fought in this place updated the map, making their current map a bit bigger for other people to use. When his focus was on the map, her voice suddenly resounded in his ears. I didn't follow you, alright, eh? Theo was confused as he raised his vision. Aaliyah already turned around and began to walk. At least, I will give that much respect and privacy. You can also tell me off when something is too important to you, and I will stop bothering you about it. One more thing. Just call me Aaliyah without an honorific. This is a request because honorific is a hassle that will delay our chain of command in the battle. Okay. If you understand, then rest your body. We will travel tomorrow after all. See you tomorrow at 7 a.m. She leaped out of the forest without looking back. Theo scratched the back of his head and made a weird smile. He just had another impression of Aaliyah. Even though she was annoying, she didn't seem to be that bad.